R.C. Davis for Warriors TV, catching up with Will Cherry. Tell us about your experience last year.
My experience was good. You know, after surgery, got back, got cleared December, and then, you know, I entered the player pool in the D League, I don't want to say about February. Got picked up right away by the Ken Charge, and went out there in Ken and had a great experience. You know, I came at the tail end of the season. Those last 2 months, you know, the season played a lot of dividends for me as far as knowledge of the game. You know, I learned at this level it's the little things that you have to hit home that make the biggest difference on the court. And that knowledge, you know, make the game a lot easier for me as far as, you know, as these upcoming events like finishing it with this camp and doing Cleveland and doing the Miami camp, those little things definitely helped from the D League into now.
We joked last time you and I talked about how you used to own Damian Lillard in high school. Have you talked to Damian lately? Have you guys caught up at all?
Yeah, actually, I talked to Dame right before I left Cleveland to go to Miami. And he was texting me. I think our trainer Ann had told him I was going to these camps and everything. He just, you know, one thing he just says, go out there and kill. And that's just how our relationship is. You know, good friends, great friends. But when it comes to basketball, we know one thing. You know, go hard and kill. And when he said that, you know, all of my reply is enough said. You know, that's what we do. So I've talked to him here and there, and probably going to get with him and probably start trying to work out with him a couple workouts before Vegas if I can.
Is there any part of your game that you did not realize would be such an emphasis at the professional level?
I want to say the pick and roll game. I mean, I knew a lot of pick and rolls. You know, it happened, and that's pretty much the NBA style. But they hit that to home a lot. You know, a lot. And I always thought, you know, just come out the pick and you have your options here and there. But the setups, how to get off the pick and roll, how to get yourself open, when you're open, trying to get to the second and third option sometimes, or taking your shot, just knowing when to pick your spots, when to pull up or when to pass, you know, out for a three or to the roller. Those things was really one of the things I was talking about as far as knowledge, and hitting those home made me a way better player at the point guard position.
You look thicker.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit. They got me on the weights. You know, I actually was bigger when I was in Montana, but I toned it down and got a lot stronger. But I gained some more weight. I probably gained 5 or 7 pounds last time you see me as far as just straight muscle. And so that's helping me too at the point guard position, going in, finishing amongst those trees. You know, as you know, in the paint, those are men down there, so you can't go up there soft.
Why the D League? I'm guessing you had some more lucrative offers to go overseas.
No, that's the exact opposite. Actually, the D League, for me coming in, was the last resort. It was always the last resort coming out of college. Always was the last resort as I was getting healthy, coming off my surgery, just because of the money situation. Nothing was shaking after December. All the deals that were coming on the table to my agency were for veterans. You know, and they were saying the point guards that they had at the time were already rookies and they were unreliable. You know, so for me coming straight out of college and only having a college resume and not playing pro yet, you know, that was a real setback for those coaches overseas. And so we had no other choice but to pull the trigger on the D League. You know, at that point, it's all about getting some professional experience. And at the time, I had none. And so when I went to the D League, that's all I wanted to do, and go up there, be a sponge, and soak up all the knowledge I can. And my coaches for the Ken Charge did a great job with me, you know, and so I give them kudos, you know, to you know, making the game easier for me the way it is now.
I'm interested to see Montana and Canton on your resume. What's an Oakland kid feel like when he goes to Montana?
Yeah, you know, those two cities are out of everywhere. Montana was great. Like I said, Montana is always, that's one place that's always going to have my heart. You know, that was the best 4 years of my life. Slower pace out there is really different. And now Ken, when I first got out to the Ken, it was kind of similar to Montana, you know, as far as the weather and everything, but Ken was more as in the middle of nowhere, whereas Missoula was a great city, like a college town, and had a lot of stuff. Ken, it really didn't have too much. It was a lot of more open space than it was in Missoula, but as far as the weather, I was great with that because I was in Montana for 4 years, so I was used to it. But those two cities coming from Oakland, I don't know how you get a lineup like that coming from the big city, but I got to roll with it.
Oakland point guards obviously have a history of confidence, but what does this do for you guys to see what Dame's doing so quickly in the NBA?
I mean, pretty much it's like, for our era, he is the blueprint of hard work and determination and dedication. You know, as a lot of people know, he had the similar injury to me, you know, and at the time, a lot of people were telling me to redshirt and do the same thing he did, blah, blah. But we weren't the same players, and it wasn't the same injury, you know, where his snapped all the way through, but mine was only fraction. I was still able to play. But he's definitely, you know, the blueprint, because when he came off his injury, he just took it to a new level, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that Damian had another year of college. But after he came off that injury, he proved there was nothing else for him to do at the college level. And that was just, you know, kudos to him and how he came off that injury and worked hard. And seeing him is just like, you want to follow in his footsteps as far as hard work and dedication. You don't want to follow his footsteps as far as being the same player as him and mimicking his moves or nothing like that. But as far as the hard work and determination and dedication to getting better each and every day, that's what you want to mimic.
When you go through this process, are the decision makers still asking you about your foot, or are there any questions there anymore?
No, I mean, when you fill out the paperwork, they'll look at it and talk about it. But as far as like asking me like, is your foot okay or anything like that, no, because they can see those 2 months in the D League. I came back and it was great, and that was probably the biggest thing, number one factor for me, is just getting back out there and letting all these teams know that I'm healthy and back to 100%.
This is like the 4th or 5th workout you've had this summer. What has been the constant feedback on something that you have to show in order to make it to the next level?
I really haven't had much feedback as far as what I should do as far as getting better. But from my perspective, I would just say shooting. You know, keeping that a consistent. You know, I'm a streaky shooter, but I need a consistent basis. You know, and as far as defense, I do that very well. Just keep pressing up. But you know, it's a little harder in the NBA at this level on the ball. You know what I mean? So I got to get a lot better with that on the ball, and that's one of my strengths. But I think I still need to hit that to home as far as getting over screens, because these are big physical people setting those screens now. Almost popping my shoulder out of place here and there, but you know, just to get over those screens and make it a lot easier for me. But shooting is probably my number one aspect as far as me hitting stuff to home and making more shots on a consistent basis.
Whenever I read a scouting report, it mentions your nose for the ball on defense. Is that something you've always had, or is that something you can develop over time?
I've always had that. I love defense, but it's mainly just because I take it personal. You know, I don't like being scored on. You know what I mean? I just think defense is, you know, it's more pride than anything and effort. As far as, you know, being scored on, that's just something I can't have. You know, I can't just sit there and trade buckets with you. That's just not in my nature. But I've had that from an early age, you know, playing AAU. And then when I got to high school, my coaches just took it to a whole new level. You know, I was pressing guys from baseline to baseline. And when it got to college, you know, I just tried to do the same thing. You know, I know sometimes your offense is not going to be on, but if you can affect the game in other ways, which is like defense, rebounding, then somebody's always going to need somebody like that on their team. And you know, that's just something I try to do. I try to be a two-way player.
Next goal is to make a summer league team?
Yes. I got to get back to Vegas and show them, you know, what I can do. You know, last year I didn't get too much playing time, but I couldn't complain. I was playing on a fractured foot, you know, and so now that I'm healthy, I have no excuses, and it's just 100. Yeah, it's on now. That's all I can say.
You mentioned the defense and the full court press. Do you think that's your ticket into the NBA, to be that guy who comes off the bench and kind of changes the pace, but on defense?
Yeah, definitely. I don't care what team it is. You need somebody to come off the bench and disrupt the flow of an offense. If you can do that in the backcourt, that's great. You know, now you're making them suck up time on the shot clock, and now they're getting into their sets, you know, with probably about 10 seconds, which we call at this level butter. You know, now it's just pick and roll, and you don't really get any movement in your offense. And if you can do that, you know, defense is always a great way to ignite offense, you know, early offense, and get easy buckets. And so, you know, when you do that for your team, it's easier. People get in the flow more easily, easier buckets. Now you're getting layups. Now your number one scorer, or whoever the case might be, who was on at the time, is, you know, they're getting in a rhythm offensively. So it's just better for the other four players if, you know, I come in and disrupt the offense of the opposing team.
For Will Cherry, I'm RC Davis for Warriors TV.